Everton 2, Manchester United 2 at Goodison. Sounds a good game. It wasn't a bad game. Plenty of incidents. Mark Donaldson alongside Shaka Hislop. Shaq, normally I'd do it in order of goals, but I'm going to start right at the end with a penalty that was awarded and then overturned. Before we get into this, what was your take on the shot that was parried and Ashley Young having his jersey tugged, but throwing himself to the ground, and referee initially awarding the penalty and then persuaded to overturn his decision? Thoughts?
Well, on first look, I thought it was a penalty as much as most people, I would say. But when you see the replays, I thought Ashley Young went down a little bit easily. I thought he almost seemed to. Well, then I thought he kicked into the back of Maguire's right foot. It would have been, but then you saw that it wasn't. That even if there was contact there with the tangling of legs, it was more Ashley Young kind of initiating that contact. Maguire was already in position. And in terms of De Ligt and Young kind of tussling for position themselves, again, I thought both players started in pretty equal position and just making a run for it. So in the end, the more I saw of the replay, the more I thought, no, this is not a pen, and the ref was right to overturn it.
Okay, I'm gonna take the other side of the fence here, not just to be a protagonist and to try and noise you up, but here's my defense, and tell me what you think. If it's not given as a penalty, there's no way VAR is going to give that as a penalty. But once it's given as a penalty, is it not a case that VAR is then re-refereeing? Because we've seen a jersey tug. Now, a foul is a foul. It shouldn't matter how the player goes to ground. Was there embellishment? Yes. Does Ashley Young have a history of embellishment? Yes. But it's a foul for me that's given on the field. And I don't think there's a clear and obvious error made by the referee. He has seen what he has seen. And the replay, they kept showing the wide 18-yard box angle, but it's the one from behind the goal that you can clearly see the jersey tug. And then you hear the commentator talking about he's asking the referee if he thinks that the hold by Harry Maguire is enough. I think it starts with Matthijs de Ligt and the earlier one. So whether it is or it isn't is kind of immaterial. It's been given. Is it an error, a clear and obvious one by the referee? And should VAR be allowed to, in essence, re-referee this, whether it's the first minute, the last minute? That's the point that I've got here. I don't think there's enough there to suggest that is a clear and obvious error from the referee. That's the case for the prosecution. Would you argue against that? And if so, with what?
Yes. Well, first of all, it's a very well presented case. Credit to you, Esquire Donaldson. But it comes down to one simple fact. Is it a penalty or is it not for me? And the answer to that is, as I've said, I didn't think it was. Now, I'll be honest, as much as you use the phrase, and I hear it often, clear and obvious error, and how high or low the bar is for VAR intervention, I to this point have no idea what that means. If it's not a penalty, it's not a penalty. If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. Whether it's given on the field or not, in whichever case, it ultimately comes down to what is the right decision against what is the wrong decision. And for me, giving a penalty was the wrong decision. The referee was right to overturn it. Now, you can use as much semantics and defense theory as you like about clear and obvious, and not every jersey pull in the box is a foul or is a penalty. And for this one, again, similarly, it was not a penalty. We asked between VAR and the referee, all we can ask for is to get the decision right. Now, there's a bigger debate as to how long it takes to get that decision right. Yeah. That's maybe for another day, maybe for another incident. But at the foundation of it, we are asking the refereeing team, the referee is two sideline officials and now the VAR team, to get decisions right. And I think they did.
Okay. I think my point, I think your point are both salient. What I would say, because I'm sure there are Man United fans saying the boy on the left's an idiot because he doesn't think we should have had a penalty. Just turn it around. What if it was up the other end and the same thing had happened? you'd be screaming for that to be given as a penalty. Look,
Yeah, well, that's part of being a fan.
no, of
That's,
course,
you know,
hypocrisy is something you sign up for as a
it's
footballer.
not about
No, of
it's
course
not about
not.
Manchester United fans in interpretations or Everton fans interpretations. It's about the majority, the neutral, and how they see it. And I am firmly neutral in this, at least I would like to
Likewise,
think so.
yeah, likewise, and I can see your point, my point as well. That's what I think. The problem you've got here, Shaq, is that something similar could happen, and it might go the
Yeah.
other way. It's the inconsistency. But how do you get consistency of officiating for subjectivity?
You can't, because humans are involved, and that's just the God's honest truth. And people who thought that VAR would mean no more debate over decisions or no more mistakes made by referees, I think are just being wonderfully naive on this. Humans are involved, and there's going to be a difference of interpretation. This may happen in the Arsenal West Ham game, and I see it totally differently. But to that point, you know that different refereeing teams referee games differently. They have different thresholds for whatever it is. I knew that as a player going into games. We look to see who the officials were. You know, okay, this is how he likes to handle games. So therefore, don't do this. Don't speak to him in this manner. Whereas other referee, for argument's sake, an easy example would be to draw. It'd be how you interact with referees, what you can say or can't say. Some referees you could swear like a sailor, and they would give it back to you as good as they got, and that was fine. Other referees, you raise your voice and they want to give you a yellow card. No, you knew that going into games, and your behavior would be adjusted accordingly. Similarly here, just because we've now introduced VAR doesn't mean that everything is going to be straight down the line. There are still differences in how referees handle games and in how they want to interact, and that causes some inconsistency, some discussion, some debate. But I don't feel that it's unjust or unexpected.
It causes some debate. Look, without VAR, you're going to have a debate if the referee awards a penalty. Those who support the team who get the penalty say that was the right decision, and those who feel hard done by say it was the wrong decision. With VAR, you just have a different debate, and the debate is now because it was overturned. That's the problem. Question for you: if that happens outside the box, is it a free kick?
I think it's given as a free kick, but then because
So what's the difference?
hold on,
The
difference is it's in the box. If that happens out, hold on, let me finish. If that happens outside the box, the referee blows and gives a foul, there's a free kick. VAR has no reason to intervene because it's a free kick outside the box. End of story. VAR does not intervene. It happens inside the box. The ref blows for a foul, gives a free kick as he would have done if it were outside the box. But because it's a penalty, and VAR intervenes in goal scoring incidents, penalties, red card incidents. Because it's in the box, it falls into one of those categories as to whether VAR intervenes. So therefore, VAR intervenes, and the decision is rightly overturned. Again, at first look, I thought it was a foul. I thought it was a penalty. If it were outside the box, it's given as a free kick. It's not a penalty. It's not a goal scoring incident. It's not a red card incident. So VAR does not intervene. So you go with the referee's call on the field. If the discussion now is that whatever happens outside the box has to stand inside the box, then let's do away with VAR because it's no longer a penalty. It's no longer a red card incident. VAR can't intervene outside of the box.
Correct. All of that is absolutely spot on. The point I'm making here, and I've spoken to referees. There are people that have come into ESPN to speak to us, and we've got friends who are referees as well. There is a higher bar for challenges or for incidents inside the box than there is outside the box.
No. It's one bar.
You've just said it's a free kick outside the box, but it's not a penalty inside.
Right. Wait, hold on. If that's given as a free kick outside of the box, and VAR has the power to intervene outside of the box.
It doesn't.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me finish. If it's given as a free kick, and I said on first look, it looks like a free kick to me, I would have given it. I would have given it as a penalty, right? But now we're moving it outside the box. If it's a free kick, or if it's given as a free kick outside the box, and VAR has the power to intervene, VAR would have said, I think, That is not a free kick. Drop ball. But VAR does not intervene outside of the box. So we are taking the same incident. The referee does the exact same thing in both incidents, which on first look, I agree with. But because the incident, as it happened today, is inside of the box, it's a penalty decision. VAR is empowered to intervene because it's inside of the box, and it's not outside of the box. Exactly. So that's what. So I don't see the point you're making about it being outside of the box or not.
Okay.
I don't see
the point I'm making. No, there's only the top leagues that have got VAR. Right? There's many, many more leagues across the world that don't have VAR. There is a higher bar, and referees have admitted this privately. There is a higher bar for a chat. If it's given as a soft free kick outside the box, there is no danger you're getting a penalty inside the box. We're not talking VAR here. That's the problem that we have here. You have an incident that takes place outside the box, and it's given as a free kick. You then have the same incident inside the box, but it's not given as a penalty because it's not deemed enough. There is nothing in the law book to say that if something happens inside the box, it has to be 10, 20, 30 times more of a penalty. That's the problem that we've got here. Now, you're right what you say with VAR. And I know we haven't even got onto the game yet to do with this. The problem is we've identified that there's an issue here because we're going to get complaints regardless whether there is VAR overturning it or there's no VAR and the penalty stays. Some people are not going to be happy. But this, I don't know if this is more of a VAR thing or this is more of a re-refereeing the game without a clear and obvious error. Anyway, we could go on for this for a while.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I don't get what you're saying. I really don't.
Okay, I'm just saying that different decisions get refereed differently depending on where they take place on the pitch. Forgetting VAR is even involved, and that shouldn't be the case. There shouldn't be a higher bar.
That has nothing to do with what happened today.
Okay.
I thought I established that, and to your point,
you said it was a free kick outside the box, but it wasn't given inside the box. And
no. What I said was, on first look, if it were given outside the box, I would say free kick. I said today off the top, on first look, it was given inside the box, and I thought it was a penalty. On first look, I think it's exactly the same. Now, if VAR intervened outside of the box, I would have said it's not a penalty. I would have expected that free kick to be overturned. Just as when VAR intervened inside the box, it was overturned. The only difference here is VAR is not empowered to step in when the free kick is outside of the box because it's not a penalty, it's not a goal scoring incident, and it's not a red card incident. So the only difference here for me is that VAR is not empowered to intervene. Had it intervened outside of the box, it probably would have been overturned, but it's not. It's not. So I'm consistent throughout. Now, to counter that with a hypothetical and referencing conversations you've had with referees, which I don't dispute, but I'm not having those conversations. I aren't able to put forward any kind of counter to that, so I can't speak to those conversations. Quite similarly, as I said off the top, and I've been saying throughout, I do not get this high bar and this what's the other phrase that they continually use around VAR. I don't get it. I don't get what a lot of that means, and so I can't speak to it, and I won't speak to it.
Fair. And look, subjectivity means there is no right or wrong answer. It's in the eyes of the person that's awarding it. What cannot be argued is the confirmation from the Premier League and the Match Centre on social media. This is what they said. The call of penalty was checked by VAR for the challenge on Harry Maguire on Ashley Young. It was deemed that no foul had been committed. This is in the eyes of VAR, and VAR recommends to the referee an on-field review. The referee overturned the original decision and play restarted with an indirect free kick. Look, the bottom line is here, before we move on, the referee has the final say. VAR can suggest, we think there hasn't been a foul there and you should overturn your decision. We've seen it before. It doesn't happen very often, but the referee has the final say. So the referee has been persuaded by seeing the camera angles. We've spent 14 minutes talking about this. Let's talk about the game. Everton 2, Manchester United 2. If someone had said to you when Everton went 2-0 up that Manchester United would be pushing for a winning goal near the end, that wasn't happening.
No.
Where did the change come from today? From an insipid Manchester United display to one that didn't have Everton holding on at the end, but either side could have won it in the end when there looked like there was only
Yeah.
going to be one winner at the start.
Well, quite simply, goals change matches, and I'm tempted to say that this was a game of two halves. It was more a game of three thirds,
Yeah.
because an hour into this one, I saw no way back for Manchester United. I'll be honest. There were shots of Ruben Amorim at half time coming out to the start of the second half that he looked a beaten man. And if the manager is looking that way, if the manager isn't able to muster up any kind of show of resilience, I was not expecting anything from his team. I thought it would be more the same. At worst, Everton would just try to consolidate their position, given that they're two up, and we're cruising. And that's kind of how it proved 15 minutes into the second half. And then all of a sudden, Bruno Fernandes steps up with this free kick just outside of the box. This was Manchester United's first shot on target, finds the back of the net, and Manchester United respond. There's a belief about them and their game that they can get back into this. Everton, who, as I say, had kind of shifted their mindset at halftime to consolidate their position, and that's a difficult switch for them as well. Now to try and be who they were in the first half, when they kind of come out in the second half and had this again, the defensive position in defending their lead, and from then on in. This was all Manchester United for the last half hour of the game. Once Bruno Fernandes got that opening goal, it was all Manchester United. And you're right. Penalty incident aside, if you would ask me 5 minutes to go in this game plus injury time, who's going to win this? I would have put my mortgage on Manchester United.
Yep.
Quite easily. And then all of a sudden, that incident, which we've debated, just that also kind of came out of nothing in my mind, because it was all Manchester United to close out, and I could only see one winner from this. So it speaks to Everton not continuing to do the things that they did so well and got them ahead in the first 45, and then being unable, and how difficult it is to change that mindset mid-game. But it also spoke to, and dare I say, and this is not something we've been able to accuse them of much for the last few years, a resilience around Manchester United, because they were beaten. Bruno Amorim looked a beaten man. And as I said, for the manager to kind of cut that figure, I didn't expect his team to be any better. But then all of a sudden, that goal came, and it was totally different. And credit to United and their players for it, because with a little bit more quality up front, they would have won this easily.
It was Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, there was the Man United in the first half, and there was a different Man United for the last half hour. Talk to me, Shaq.
Everton too, by the way.
Yeah, fair.
I thought in the first half, Everton pressed so high up the park. They played with a pace that Manchester United just could not live with. And you saw the results. They were first to everything. I thought Everton lacked quality, even against Manchester United. But for what they lacked in quality, they made up for just in urgency, in harrying Manchester United, in putting them under pressure. Every time they won the ball, they broke with pace that Manchester United either didn't seem to expect or simply couldn't cope with. And then all of a sudden in the second half, there was so much less of that.
Yeah, what happened, Shaq? Was there one thing that you saw that was obvious, that they were doing that and they're not doing that anymore?
I just thought, listen, and I also understand the mindset. You're two up. Let's make sure and defend this. We are the only ones who can lose this. And again, I don't think Everton are a team in quality. I don't think they had more quality than Manchester United, but they just had a whole lot more urgency about their game. So where you can look at kind of tactical adjustments that were made either side of the ball. I more feel that this was about Everton trying to protect a lead and doing things that did not bring them any success. When Liverpool take a 2-0 lead, you expect Liverpool to go on and score 3 or 4, because they are not going to change. They are not going to consolidate. And I know Liverpool have had their issues. We spoke immediately. We spoke immediately after Wolves. But that was not because Liverpool just decided to sit in. I think this was about Everton sitting in.
If you're the goalkeeper playing behind Matthijs de Ligt and Harry Maguire, Is there anything you can do to make them better than they were in the first half? Because the goals that were conceded were far too easy from a Manchester United perspective. Certainly not the goalkeeper's fault, but I'm trying to look differently for.
Yeah.
You are what you are, but is there something that you would be doing, you would be saying to your defenders, focus more, or what could you do as a goalkeeper behind them?
I'm not sure that Andrea Nana is in a position to do a whole lot more. And I say that because I felt, and we spoke about this at the beginning of last season when Andrea Nana was having his struggles just after arriving at Old Trafford. I said then that I felt that Onana was being asked to be the leader of that back four, that he is the one who's shouting instructions, giving directions, he's taking command. And as a result, he got away from his natural game and was making errors because he was trying to cover for other people that maybe he didn't know as well or know in playing behind as well. And he got himself in trouble and his confidence started to decline. This season he's been having a far better season. And maybe to your point, you're absolutely right. Maybe we're now at a point where Andrea Nana has to take command of that back four, has to be the leader that's needed because he's found his confidence, he's refound his form. But as of right now, there are just some things that you expect of your defenders. You expect your defender to attack the ball. You expect your defender to be, when a ball gets popped up in the air, you expect your centre back to show some sense of urgency and to attack it. You don't expect him to kind of sit there, wait for him to head it out, and then all of a sudden, a player breaks from deep to win the header over everybody else. Those are basic things that you expect of any header, of any defender. If you can't win that ball, at least recognize where the threat is and put your body in between. I mean, some of the mistakes that two outstanding defenders, let's be honest. Harry Maguire is an England centre-back. Matthias de Ligt is a Dutch centre-back. But some of the mistakes they're making are absolutely basic.
At half-time in the US coverage on NBC, two of our friends and former colleagues, Robbie Earle, Robbie Mustoe, had a disagreement. Robbie Mustoe said, look, this is his formation, 3-4-3. He's got to persevere with this. He can't afford to change it. They've just got to be better at understanding the formation and understanding their jobs in that. Robbie Earle said, no, he needs to change things because this isn't working. First of all, out of those two, what do you think? And second of all, if you are playing a 3-4-3 and you've got your two midfielders, what's the argument to say that Bruno Fernandes might be more effective as the deep lying of the two rather than the kind of number 10?
Well, first, I'll address the second part of that question first. Okay. It's first of all, it's Manchester United lack quality, and one of their best, one of their most technical players is Bruno Fernandes. And then the question becomes, well, where do you employ him? Do you employ him right behind your centre forwards, or do you ask him to sit a little bit deeper to get on the ball more with a little bit more room? So I think it's a real conundrum around Bruno Fernandes simply because of how much of the quality that Manchester United lack. And maybe it's a case of, well, you have to horses for courses kind of thing. You have to recognize the opponent, where their strengths are, and probably where you can get the best out of Bruno Fernandes. So what may be right for Everton may not be right for a Liverpool or an Arsenal or somebody else. So I think that's a bit of the conundrum. But that conundrum is made all the more difficult, going to the first part of your question, with Bruno Amorim's kind of insistence on playing his formation. Now, Bruno Amorim is paid the big bucks to make those decisions. And there, in short, there are two approaches. One, as both Robbies kind of hinted towards, is that this is my system. I'm going to play this system. I'm going to wait till the summer and get players in who can play my system. And Amorim has that time. There's no doubt in my mind that Ruben Amorim, stupid Bruno, Ruben Amorim is going to be the manager of Manchester United come Arsenal. So he probably, from a position of comfort, knows that as long as the team stays up, he's not going to be out of a job in the summer, and then he can address and start to play the kind of football and the system of football that he wants. The other is, and we've had this discussion around Spurs and Postecoglou, because he took up a similar position. Now, this is his system, and I'm going to play it. Even when he had injuries, injuries to the likes of Van der Ven, who is one quickest centre backs I certainly have ever seen, you still want to play this suicidally high defensive line with players who are nowhere as quick. No, or Romero either. Yeah, and you still want to play the suicidally high line, which makes absolutely no sense. But Postecoglou's position was, this is how I play. Everybody has to kind of adjust around it. The difference is Postecoglou is a couple of years into the job now, and results are far more important. As we sit right now, I can't say with any certainty that Ange Postecoglou is going to be Spurs manager next season. He does not have that luxury. He does not have that safety net that Amorim has. So you've got to adjust, and he hasn't. So I will be far more critical, far more scathing of Postecoglou's reluctance to not change the system than I will of Amorim's, and that's simply because of the time that both managers have been there and the immediate need to get results. I think Postecoglou has a far more urgent need to turn things around and get results than Ruben Amorim does, simply because he's only just been brought in. He's only had one transfer window. He will be the manager, no questions no question in my mind, come August. Can't say the same for Postecoglou.
The buzz phrase today, a team transformed for Everton under David Moyes, wins over Spurs, Brighton, Leicester and Palace, draws against Liverpool. And it might have been a win, but it ended up being a draw with Manchester United. And you have to say, for Manchester United, a team transformed after being 2-0 down last half hour, could have won it. Quite the game today. Was it a penalty or was it not a penalty? Subjectivity, huh? Bye for now.